Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice radio, so today I'm going to be giving you a deck list. Now, we don't do deck lists very often on this channel. There's many other channels out there doing it. I only want to do a deck list video where I've really got something special to add, and today I do. We are looking at Scot Symond's Passimian list, which is a little bit of a tongue twister, that was recently featured on my channel. I think it's a fantastic list, and I think it's worth sharing because honestly, this is a good list. This is a list where you can take it and play it and win with it now. So, starting off, let's have a look at the Pokémon. We are playing 4 Passimian here. That shouldn't need a huge amount of explanation. Passimian is the main attacker, and it's a team play attack that we are primarily looking at here. 10 damage plus 30 more for each of your benched Passimian. 100 damage with 3 Passimian on the bench, thank you very much. Or if you copy the attack using Mew, then you're actually doing 130, assuming you've got all 4 on the bench. This is primarily a deck list video. If you want to know more about how the deck works, I have done an analysis video for Passimian. Link to that can be found in the description. Now, you might notice that there is no fighting energy in the list. Fling cannot be used, and you know what? I don't think that's a terribly bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. Fling is not the attack that wins you the game. Team play is. There are 3 Mews here. Why are there only 3 Mews? You don't need all that many Mews. We're playing a whole bunch of recovery cards that we'll get to later. And to be perfectly honest, Mew is a good attacker, but you're not going to be using all that many. You got 4 Passimian, you got 3 Mew. Honestly, how many Mews do you think you're going to be getting KO'd during the game? This is a way of saving a space for something else. Now, there is one Oranguru, and I'm sorry, but I love Oranguru, and I am actually not even sorry about that. Here, I suppose you technically could use the attack, but nobody's going to. Oranguru is here for the ability Instruct, and it allows you once per turn to draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand. This is awesome. It means that you can draw more cards, and here this is very much a combination deck. You need all your Passimian on the bench. You need your double colorless in your hand. You need to be recovering the Passimian when they get KO'd, etc. And Oranguru here lets you draw more cards. Your opponent can end you in the late game. You are guaranteed to never have a turn with fewer than 3 cards in hand, unless you're ability locked. And the awesome thing about that is that 3 cards means that you can use Ultra Ball. I've seen a lot of people that don't love Oranguru, but you know what? I have lost a lot of games because I have an Ultra Ball in hand and I've only got 2 cards and I can't play it. And one Shaman, it's early game draw. If you're struggling to set up, here comes Shaman. If you don't need Shaman, he stays in your deck. You do not play him, but you need it there just in case. In terms of supporters, for Professor Sycamore, it's the fastest and most aggressive supporter in the format. It's got to be done. 3N, it's the second best supporter in the format. You don't need 4 of these because Passimian is a fairly aggressive deck, so you're not that often coming from behind. So in the late game, N becomes less important. So you only need 3 of them. Again, a 4th might be nice, but remember, you're limited to 60 cards here. 2 Lysander is fairly standard. Remember that with this team play attack, you're generally only hitting for 100 or with Mew 130. So it is important here that you can take some cheeky bench prizes off of things like Shaman, or using Mew to copy Passimian's attack, you can KO something like a Hooper, for instance. It is important and it needs to be done. 1 teammates, look, you've got a whole bunch of low HP Pokemon like Passimian, Mew, Oranguru. You are expecting to lose a Pokemon pretty much every turn. You play 1 teammates, you reuse it with Versus Seeker, and you can search out important parts of the combination like Passimian, double colorless energy, revive, whatever it is you need. 1 Professor Kukui, again, you play 1 of so you can reuse them with Versus Seeker. Here, it's really the extra 20 damage, not the drawing 2 cards that you want. The drawing 2 extra cards is very handy, but let's make no mistake about this. What you really want here is doing an extra 20 damage on turns where the number is going to be absolutely crucial. And it should come as no surprise here, 4 versus Seeker. Well, of course you play 4 versus Seeker. You can reuse supporters. It's essentially the best item card in the game. As a side note, energy here, we're just playing 4 double colourless. We don't want more than 4 double colourless. We're going to reuse it with special charge, and we're just going to have ourselves a jolly old time. Adding any more energy cards just means that you're not running with team play. It means that you're slowing yourself down. You need to be attacking every turn. This is not a deck you build up over a few turns. This is a deck where you set up and you go. If you're not able to attack with double colourless energy, you're probably not going to win the game. In terms of Pokemon Search, we got 4 Ultra Ball. It's the best card in the format in terms of Pokemon Search. It gets anything. And free Nest Ball. Now, what's important about Nest Ball is that it puts the Pokemon straight onto your bench. You can't, well, no, that's a lie. You can grab Shaman with Nest Ball, but it goes straight onto your bench and you don't get the ability. That is not good. But even so, the only Pokemon that you effectively can't use Nest Ball for is Shaman, still makes it the best card other than Ultra Ball to be using here. Only stadium we're playing is Skyfield, and it's not something like Rayquaza where we need loads of bench Pokemon in order to attack, but generally we want 4 Passimian out and a Mew in the active. We can only have 6 out without Skyfield. So 4 Passimian and Mew is already 5, add in a Rangaroo 6, that means you can't play your Shaman, you can't bench a second Mew. Skyfield is not vital in this deck, but most of the time you'll want more bench spaces. But you only need 3 because in the late game, you probably won't need Skyfield anymore. It's not the end of the world, but you still need it in the early game quite a lot. So let's have a look to finish off here at the item cards we're playing. We are playing 4 Puzzle of Time. This is crucial. Now you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and rearrange them if you only play 1, but that is not the optimal use for this card. You want to play 2 and grab any 2 cards from your discard. It could be Passimian, it could be double colourless energy, but you'll notice here we're playing a bunch of one-off cards. This gets anything back. It is vital, like I've said. This is a combination deck. This is a deck where you often need to get several cards in a turn to get the combo going again. This is crucial to allow you to do that. 1 special charge because we're only playing 4 double colourless. We might need to attack 6 times. I mean, generally, if you need to attack 6 times, you've probably lost. But against decks like Vespiquen, it could be crucial. You need special charge. And if you run out, don't forget you can reuse it with Puzzle of Time. 1 Super Rod to get your Passimian, your Mew, etc. back into your deck. It would be more, but we're playing Revive. The reason we're playing free Revive, it puts a basic from your discard onto your bench. Passimian and Mew. The reason we can get away with playing a single Super Rod here is because Revive is insane in this deck. I would not be mad at you if you played a 4th Revive, but there just isn't space. And when we're cutting down a Skyfield, so we're not playing 4, and we're playing 3 Mew instead of 4. That gives us the space to play free Revive, because Revive is absolutely crucial here. Speaking of crucial, we are playing a single copy of Town Map. We don't ever need to play more than 1 town map. You flip over your prizes and that's it for the game. But you need Passimian here. Your deck is entirely reliant on having all your Passimian in play. You're playing Revive to make sure they're always in play, therefore you need to play Town Map here to make sure that if any of them are prized, you can get them out of the prizes as fast as possible. Less important, you still need your double colourless energy here, and if you've been playing for long enough, you've had games where you had 2 or 3 double colourless energy prized, you need them as soon as you possibly can. 2 Pokemon Catcher. This is very much a tech card. But like we said with Lysander earlier in this very video, this is not a deck that hits for gigantic one-hit KOs. This is a deck that gets one-hit KOs on weak Pokemon, 2-hit KOs on other Pokemon. But if you can take cheeky KOs on things like Shaman or Hooper throughout the game, that gets you to winning much more quickly. And although it's a coin flip, you can't always afford to use Lysander as your supporter for the turn. If you can just hit one of these two per game, which is on average what you'll hit, then once per game, you get a Lysander without using your supporter for the turn. That will turn games and give you the win. 2 escape rope here because you need to get out of the active occasionally, but also it works as a pseudo Pokemon catcher. Your opponent might have Shaman, Hooper, and Yveltal with 40 HP remaining on the bench. And then a nice fresh Yveltal in the active. You cannot KO the Yveltal, but you can KO anything on their bench. At which point, playing an escape rope is just as good as playing a Pokemon catcher. You know, except you don't have to flip a heads. We're playing 4 Bursting Balloon here because, and I've said this a couple times during the video, Passimian is not a deck that gets big one-hit KOs. It KOs weaker Pokemon and it 2-hit KOs everything else. Well, Bursting Balloon changes it a little bit. If your opponent attacks into your Passimian with a Bursting Balloon, they take 60 damage. So now that 130 you're hitting with Mew, which is not enough to KO EX Pokemon, turns into 190 and is enough to KO EX Pokemon. Or indeed you play a Professor Kukui and it goes up to 210, and all of a sudden things like Mega Gardevoir that looked out of reach, all of a sudden you're actually able to hit for 210 in a single turn effectively. 130 with Mew, 60 with Bursting Balloon, 20 with Kukui, and now you're actually able to get that KO. A full complement of 4 here, because with Bursting Balloon, it's go big or go home. And maybe your opponent every turn will play a Lysander and KO something on the bench. But you know what? If they're doing that, they're not taking out the active Pokemon with the energy, and they're using Lysander way too often, and sooner or later they are not going to be able to use Lysander, or they're going to end up not having the cards they need in hand because they're using Lysander when they want to be drawing cards. That is what Bursting Balloon does, and honestly, I think the reason Scot's deck here is so good is because it is straightforward and consistent, and because it plays Bursting Balloon, which helps him hit the numbers. As a side note, the last card in this deck, 4 Trainer's Mail. Of course Scott played 4 Trainer's Mail. Look how many valuable item and supporter cards are in this deck. Of course you're playing 4 Trainer's Mail, although to be honest, most decks nowadays are. This is the exact list with which Scott went 4-0 at a league challenge on the very first day Pokemon Sun and Moon was legal. If you want to see a video from that league challenge, you can find a link in the description. This is a good Passimian list. This is a list that you should be taking to tournaments with an expectation of doing well. As I've said to you before, ladies and gentlemen, I don't do many deck list videos on this channel. Generally, I like to give you the full analysis and leave you to go and make your own decisions. But sometimes, if I've got a deck list which I know for a fact to be good, that I know you guys want to see, and oh my goodness, I have had literally dozens of requests for this deck list, I am more than happy to bring it to you as its own little video. Now you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. There is a comment section, go nuts, be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel. Please use them both. You can follow me on Twitter @TheWassy, and before I go, I must say a final huge thank you to Scott Symond. Such a lovely dude that I never actually asked him for his deck list. He watched the video of his game at the League Challenge, and then he said, hey, I've had a look at the comments, a load of people want my list, here's your list, do what you want with it. Lovely, lovely man. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.